This is a Remington Model 12 manufactured in 1916. At least I'm pretty sure it was 1916. Sometimes it's difficult to understand the serial number systems or the dating systems for Remington. Over the years, they use several different methods, and I'm pretty sure that this is 1916. This is Remington's version of the gallery guns that were used in the carnivals and the fairs back in the 20s, 30s, 40s. And I did a video on Winchester's version of this in a previous video, and I will put a link in the description to that video so that you can go and see a little bit of the history of the carnivals. I'm not going to do that on this one. This is a beautiful, beautiful 22. Really great condition. What happened is the customer bought this gun and he bought it without a pad. So it's just the bare wood on the end. And he went and sourced a replacement pad. And when he bought the pad, the place that he bought it from, I don't know if this is an original or a reproduction because it has Remington on the back of the pad, and the script is all right. It's actually very, very well done. I have to install this onto this gun. I'm not going to do the install because you've seen that several times. In plastic or rubber, it's pretty much the same process. The problem with this is it's curved. So the pad has a curve to it as opposed to the butt of the stock, which is flat. And when I questioned the customer about it, he said this is what he was sent by the source that he bought this from, and he was told that this is the pad that goes on this gun, and that confused me a little bit. So I did some research. I'm not real familiar with the gun, so I went into some of my Remington books and did some online research as well. And turns out that in that first version of this, they made two versions of this, the 12 and the 121A. And the Model 12, that first version of it, and I'll put a photo up here that you can see this. They made several different versions of it, but from a steel crescent to these curved pads to the straight pads on these buttstocks. So the person or the company that he bought this from actually was correct that this probably did go on that gun at some point in its history or manufacture some point in its history, but it's not the one that goes here. And he says that he can't get a straight one. I'm okay with that. So today's video is a little bit of an experiment for me, and I wanted to take you along on that journey, if you will. I have to straighten this out. And this is a hard piece of plastic. It does not want to give. So I'm trying to figure out how do I straighten this out. If I try to screw it down, it's going to put a lot of pressure on this and risk splitting the hole or pulling the screws out, or perhaps even, I don't know if it would break this, but it certainly would distort it. So I did some research. I am not a plastics engineer. I'm not a plastics expert. But I did go online and to a couple websites, and I tried to figure out what was the softening point of plastic, so that what I'm hoping is if I heat this up, I might be able to put clamping pressure on it on a flat plate, like my table saw, for instance, and see if I can't bring this back to flat without doing a lot of distortion to the pad itself. I don't know if I can or not. What I do know is that if I don't straighten this out, the customer's not going to get this pad on this gun. So I'm going to try a couple experiments. I'm going to try the low-tech version first, or the least potentially destructive process at first. I'm going to show you that today. So I went online and I found, again, these charts on these softening points and melting points for polymer materials. And if any of you are plastics engineers or chemists and you have some thoughts that you want to share, put it in the comment. I'd appreciate that. This is me just doing the best I can with what I can find out. And the softening point on different plastics PET, HDPE, polyurethane, all these different plastics, nylon. The softening point varies, but it's usually pretty close between 248 and the worst is 530 degrees Fahrenheit. I'm not going to be able to get anything that high, but most of these run in the 230 to 280 degree points on average. So the first thing I'm gonna try, I'm not having a lot of faith in this. The first thing I'm gonna try is to actually put this in boiling water and leave it boiling to see if it doesn't soften. This might be a joke. This might be sort of a waste of my energy. But again, I'm trying to step my way up through this and try the least destructive method first. So I'm gonna put this in boiling water. So my house and shop, we're located at 1,200 feet above sea level. So when you look at the boiling point of water at sea level is 212 degrees. Now, up at 1,200 feet, it doesn't change that much. It drops down to 210 degrees. So because that's at the low level of the softening points on several of the plastics, it's on the bottom end. It's probably slightly below it. I'm going to give that a try. I'm just going to boil this in hot water, boiling water, for 15-20 minutes and see if I can bring that up to temperature. And see if that doesn't relieve the tensions in the plastic enough for me to clamp it and then begin to bring that down. So that's the first thing that we're going to do. We're going to try to boil it in water. So I'm not holding that out as necessarily going to be completely successful, but I'm going to give it that a try. The next thing that I can do, because all of the rest of those temperatures are just below 300 degrees, I'm going to bring out my powder coating oven. I showed you that in a previous video. That goes up over 300 degrees, and that is in excess of the softening point of most plastics. Again, I don't want to melt it, I just want to soften it. So I'm going to use that powder coating oven, set it at that 300 degrees, and just experiment with that and see if that doesn't bring the softness of the material down enough so that I can flatten it out to get it on this rifle. Let's go boil some plastic. I don't know what's the right amount of time to boil the plastic to heat it all the way through. It's been in the water for about 15 minutes now. I had to put a cover on to keep that water boiling because without the cover all that heat just kept escaping. So let's give this a try. And let's see if we had any effect on the plastic at all. Gloves, going to be really hot, I'm pretty sure. Pair of pliers to get it out. So amazingly, this did appear to soften the plastic. Not really soft, not really pliable, but I'm going to boil this one more time, and then I'm going to clamp it and then try to overbend it in the other direction, and then see if it cools off, if it'll stay in that straighter position. If that doesn't work, then we're going to go to plan B. So what I've done here, I have a piece of flat pine board, and then I have this, which actually it's a pickup ring for when I build guitars, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to lay this pickup ring over this flat board, and then I'm going to take the pad out of the boiling water and then lay it lengthwise over the pickup ring, and then I'm going to take two clamps, and on either side I'm going to clamp both sides and then try to overbend it so that when it cools off, my thinking is that it'll be in an overbent state, but it'll probably have memory and return somewhat back to its original state. And if I'm lucky, it ends up being mostly flat, and then we can sort of work it from there. All right, so let's get this out of the boiling water and give this a try. All right, so we've been boiling for about another 10 or 15 minutes here, and I'm going to turn the heat off. Need to do this, I think, fairly quickly, because I don't want the pad to cool off too much. This back over the top. Here's my board, here's the pickup ring. This is going to go over, well, that is hot. We're going to go over this way. Then I'll take my first seat clamp. Need another hand here. Alright, so what I'm doing is I'm putting this in here, and I have the clamps on both ends of the pad, and I'm just squeezing it down, and I am trying to overbend this, which I am doing. I'm going to let this cool for 15 or 20 minutes, see if it'll take a set, and if it takes a set, we're all good to go for the next step, which is installing the pad. If not, then we're going to heat it up using some other method. So we'll see you on the other end. Let's pull the clamps and see if this maintains the shape or if it springs back into that reverse curve again. So amazingly, it actually held the shape, and it's got a little bit of a bend in it, but it's pretty amazing, pretty incredible. Got a little bit more bend in it than I'd like. A little bit of that reverse bend. I'd like to get out a little bit more, but it worked. I'm surprised it worked actually. So if this holds its shape for an hour or two, what I think I'm going to do is take a piece of sandpaper and sort of work this back and forth and take all the high spots and the low spots out with the intention of getting this where it needs to be. I have to remove a lot of this end, and where I've got to remove it to is mostly where it's flat. I think this is going to work. I'm real happy with this. We boiled a plastic pad. If you enjoyed that video, give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Ring the bell so you get notified the next time I post a video. And if you want to see that pad installed on that Remington, leave a comment. Let me know what your thoughts are, and we might be able to get that done too. See you in the next one. This ain't my first rodeo. Hell, I've been around long enough to know that there's some things you can't take back. Some things you just got to let go. Well, there's some things you can't take back. Lord, some things you just got to